Today on the show, I'm gonna give you my final conclusion on Marvel's huge 6-month mega event, Avengers vs. X-Men. Avengers vs. X-Men is really for people who've been reading, who know what's going on in the continuity. It's really discouraging to new readers because it's such a big event on such a huge scale, and you really do have to know a lot about your characters and a lot about what's going on to understand. They leave out a whole lot because they don't have time to explain everything, so they just assume that you know what's going on.
So, I have this friend who wanted to start reading Marvel Comics, and he tried during Avengers vs. X-Men, but then he found himself completely lost in what was going on. So, he was wondering if you could kinda help him out and just explain what everything was happening so that he can start reading Marvel now.
Spoiler alert, this is for people who have already read Avengers vs. X-Men, or people who don't plan on reading Avengers vs. X-Men and just want me to fill them in on what's going on. Avengers vs. X-Men, in a nutshell. The Phoenix is an ancient cosmic entity of death and rebirth. It's come to Earth on several occasions and possessed all these different mutants, usually ones with psychic powers. So it all goes back to MJ. The Scarlet Witch, she totally goes nuts and she's like, no more mutants. Most all of the mutants are depowered except for 200. So mutants are now an endangered species until Hope is born. Hope is the first mutant to be born after the decimation. Cable comes back and he's like, oh my gosh, Hope's gonna be this crazy mutant messiah, we totally need her. Cable decides to take her to his future and then Bishop's like going after her and he's like training Hope to become the mutant messiah. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, comes back, she's like trying to fight MODOK, and then like she ends up like hanging out with like Spider-Woman and Ms. Marvel, and they go back to the mansion, and then Vision's like, get the fuck out of here, I don't like you, I don't care, you're not my wife anymore, and she's like, oh, I'm really sorry, and then she leaves.
So everyone hates Scarlet Witch because she deleted all the extra mutants.
Cyclopes is training Hope some more, who cares, she's being a bitch, she's like, I don't do what I want, I'm gonna go beat up the Serpent Society. And then they like train Hope some more, and they train her, and she sucks, and whatever, and then they like go to the government, and they're like, oh my god, Phoenix is coming, like Nova, whatever, and then Captain goes to like Wolverine, and he's like, hey, can we count on you? And he's like, oh god, I don't know. And then Captain America like comes to Utopia, and he's like, Scott, we gotta talk about this. And then Cyclops is like, fuck you, Cap, get off my island. Then there's a big fight between the Avengers and the X-Men, and everyone's like duking it out, and Hope's like supposed to be guarded by her friends, but then she sucks and like punches them all in the face and then like escapes, and everyone's telling her like don't go, but she just never listens to what anybody says. They should just tell her, hey, come out here and fight, and then she'll like go somewhere else. Like, use reverse psychology on her. She's obviously a retarded 16-year-old. So Hope escapes, and everybody's trying to find Hope. The X-Men are trying to find Hope, the Avengers are trying to find Hope, Wolverine's trying to find Hope. He's like, I'm totally gonna kill her if I have to kill her, like whatever. And both teams want to find Hope first because they think that they have the best plan to save the world. It is at this point that the Avengers and the X-Men break off into individual battles all over the planet. Iron Man fights Magneto, Spider-Man fights the Juggernaut, Thing versus Namor, Black Widow fights Thing versus the Juggernaut, and none of these fights matter in the whole scheme of things. So then they're like going through Antarctica to like go to Sapling because they think that she might be there, and then like Captain America gets a fight with Wolverine and he's like, fuck you for some weird reason, and then like boots him out in the middle of Antarctica, and now Wolverine's just in the middle of Antarctica just hanging out by himself while they fly away, and then somehow he kills a polar bear and he's wearing it as a skin, and he's going around and he sees little bears in the fucking snow, and he's like, oh, beers, and he like totally follows the beers, and it's Hope, and she's like, Wolverine, I want to make a deal with you. Take me to the moon and I'll get the Phoenix, and if I start to go bad, you just gut me right there. And he's like, okay, good, totally, I'll do it, whatever, just like, it's really cool, get me out of here, give me some more beer. So then Wolverine helps Hope get to the moon, they steal a space shuttle or some shit, whatever, they get up there, but then apparently while she was sleeping, Wolverine told the Avengers that she was gonna be there, so like Captain America's fully on the moon, he's like, hey Hope, you gotta come with me. And then the X-Men are like, oh my god, Hope's on the moon, and then they teleport up to the moon, and then the Phoenix is coming, and then Tony Stark launches some weird fucking science thing at it that makes no sense, and it splits into 5 parts, and it ends up possessing Cyclops, Emma Frost, Colossus, Magic, and Namor, as opposed to Hope, because she flinched in the face of the Phoenix, so it got split up, and now there's the Phoenix 5. And then the Phoenix 5 go back down to Earth, and they start turning it into a beautiful utopia, and then they like make all the deserts like bloom, and then they're like helping all these people in Africa, and like whatever. They take Hope, they start solving all the Earth's problems, like there's these electric guys, and like the Avengers were fighting the electric guys, and then like Colossus showed up, and then he like just talked to the electric guy and was like, hey man, you should like chill out, and like you could totally do the power grid for the whole eastern block of Europe. So the electric guy was like, ugh. And so then they're like, holy shit, Colossus just talked to this electric guy and like got him to like power the whole eastern grid for free. That's awesome. And then there's all this weird Iron Fist stuff. Like I don't even know where the hell this came from, but apparently some Iron Fist had to fight the Phoenix before. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And then the Phoenix 5 are like hunting down all the Avengers, but then like Namor comes up against Scarlet Witch and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, bitch, because you suck. We all hate you. And then she's like, go away, bitch. And then he's like, holy shit. And he like goes all the way back to Utopia and he's like, holy crap. And then you learn that like Wanda like really can fuck with the Phoenix Force. Like she is actually really powerful. Emma Frost accidentally like burns like Hawkeye up and like that's really terrible. But then you know what? They make him better again. You thought Hawkeye was gonna die, but then no, they don't kill anybody. I mean, what do you expect? And then the Avengers and the Scarlet Witch take Hope with them. And like the Phoenix 5 are like, god damn it. So then Namor's like, oh my god, Cyclops is like totally not a good leader and like we totally need to find Hope and fuck this guy. And Emma's like, dude, he used to be a Boy Scout, calm down. But you know what? I totally know where they're hiding Hope. It's in Wakanda and you should go there. And like they totally made out and then have like sex in their minds while like he went to war with Wakanda. Now Namor and the Atlanteans go to Wakanda and they start fucking killing everybody. And he's like, where's Hope? Give us our Hope. We hate you. We'll do whatever we want. I don't give a shit. I'm Namor. So then they make this weird portal to like the mystical city of Kunlun. I don't know how to say that shit. And then it's like Kung Fu City. They go there, they take Hope. The Red Hulk totally got his arm broken, a compound fracture by Namor, and it was awesome. And I bet he was like so surprised. And then Namor like totally falls after the Avengers like launch one big attack at him and just like all go at him at once, and he falls, and then the Phoenix bursts out of him, and it goes to the other four. So now the other four are even more powerful. So then you find out later on that Thor's been taken. They're like, holy shit, we gotta get Thor back. And then it's like they go there and they find where he's at, and it's like in this volcano, and magic is like totally like raised up parts of Limbo, so it's like this hell volcano where they're keeping all the Avengers in these like weird cocoons, and they go in to get them. Side note, Black Panther tells Storm to fuck off and that they're totally not married anymore and that he annulled it. And she was like, what? Oh my god, I was trying to apologize, but whatever. Back to Magic and Colossus. They're guarding this volcano full of Avengers, and so like they all go in there to get the other Avengers out, and then like you see the Colossus like put like legs on all these whales, and like then they died because they couldn't breathe. It was a totally weird panel. I really liked it.
What was that about?
And then there's Spider-Man, and it's his time to shine. And while everyone's escaping with all the other Avengers that were captured, he has to distract Magic and Colossus.
Peter Parker just got punched in the face by Colossus, and his face like caved in. It was like concave. How on earth is his face gonna ever look normal again? How does it look fine? Like later, it should not look fine. It should look terrible. Mary Jane will never want to touch him ever again.
And then they end up like punching him in the face a whole lot and like almost killing him. And Magic's like, why don't you just kill him, Colossus? And Colossus is like, dude, like come on, don't. Like we're not gonna kill him. And she's like, I don't know. And then they get in this big fight, and Peter's like, oh, I don't know. Should you kill me? He totally eggs him on. And then they get this huge fight, and they take each other out. So now the rest of the Phoenix Force is with Emma and Scott. And now what's everybody gonna do? Because like Emma and Scott are like super powerful. Like oh my god. So now that they're like super powerful, Emma's like, dude, I totally know where Hope is. She's in this weird mystical city called Kunlun, whatever. It's like the birthplace of Kung Fu. So Cyclops like, okay, I'm totally gonna go over there and like get Hope back. So he like totally goes there, and everyone's like running around like, oh my god, Scott's here. Like he was supposed to find us, and they're all freaking out. They're all like on bandages and shit because they just got their asses whooped. And then he finally finds Hope. She's right near Wanda, and then she's been like training with some weird like Iron Fist shit. Like they're always training her. Like what is she always training for? This is the most trained person I've ever seen in my life. Okay, and for when no one ever tells her why. But anyways, she starts channeling the Iron Fist thing, and then she like channels the Phoenix, and then she like channels Wanda's like hex powers and does the very first Chaos Fist and punches Cyclops to the goddamn moon. Okay, and it takes him like an hour to get up, and he's like, holy shit, that hurt. And then back on Utopia, Emma's like having everyone like totally worship her, and she's like walking around being White Queen as a goddess. You know, that's totally what she would do. She'd totally have everybody like fucking bowing at her feet, and she was. And then Eric's like, dude, like you're kind of being a bitch. Like this is fucking retarded. And she's like, fuck you, old man. Do you want me to like go rummaging through your head, make you just like realize how many fucking mutants you've killed, asshole? And like totally, and he doesn't have his helmet on, but he's like trying to be like, fuck you, whatever, I don't care. And then she walks away, and he's like, oh my god, like oh that sucked so bad. And he just like looks over at his helmet like, oh I should have had that on, that sucked. But then he's like, fuck this, I gotta call Xavier. Bygones be bygones, because these assholes are out of control. So he's like, Xavier, we need some help. And he's like, I know. By the way, penciler Olivier Coipel is fucking amazing, okay? He did this amazing drawing of Emma, and she's like at the Phoenix, and she's like feeling it burn. She's like, oh Scott, like we could just kill everybody, and it looks so fantastic. So now Captain America goes to recruit the Hulk, and he's like, dude, I'm really sorry to bother you. Like I'm really sorry to bother you. Like please don't kill me, but we really need you to help. And Hulk's like, I guess I'll smash for you, whatever.
I think it's really big of him because Tony Stark, Reed Richards, and Black Bolt totally shot him off in space because they thought he was too big of a problem, and he ended up on some fucking crazy planet. And he had to be a gladiator, and then he became part of the planet, and then he fucking came back, and then he was really pissed. They haven't been talking since.
Which in conclusion didn't really lead to anything because he didn't really have that huge of a part in it. I mean, he smashed Emma once, which was really cool, but I mean, it really didn't do anything anyway. Moving on, the X-Men have now realized that like Emma and Scott are out of control, so they're like, dude, the Avengers, we are so sorry. They are wrong. We were wrong too. We are so sorry. Well, let us help you. Let's help you. Let's figure this out. So under Xavier, who comes back, who's like, I gotta clean up this mess, dude. I am sorry. Like Scott's fucked up. It might be my fault a little bit. I'll take responsibility. Let's do this. So they're all totally fighting, and everybody's teaming up on them. And Professor X is like, I'm gonna stop this, and Cyclops is like, fuck you, no, you're not. And he's like, yes, I am. I'm totally gonna stop you. And things are like, they're up and then they're down. And then Scott's like, dude, this is going terribly. I just need all the Phoenix Force. So he fucking goes after Emma. He takes Emma down and like chokes her out. And there's like blood coming out of her mouth, and the Phoenix Force leaves her, goes to him. He like flips out on Xavier and is just like, no, and then like just kills Xavier. He kills essentially his father, which is nuts, or would be if he'd actually stayed dead. And then Scott's all like, I am fire and life incarnate. Of course, he's totally Dark Phoenix. He's gone Dark Phoenix. He can't help it. Oh my god. Moving on. So like back when they were in the mystical Kung Fu City, Tony Stark was like, okay guys, science is not gonna do shit for this. I'm totally out of the game here. I've tried everything. There is nothing that can do this. I do know this. I know that the Phoenix wants more mutants, and I know that like Wanda's powers fuck it up, and I know that there's some weird shit going on there with her and Hope, and you know what? They're just gonna have to handle it. I can't do anything. There's no strategy here. There's nothing. So now that Scott's gone Dark Phoenix, shit hits the fan. They're fighting him like all over the world, and they're all having to like go and like clean up after him for like destroying bridges, and they have to like save all the people and like do all this shit, and it's like super crazy, and it's all over the world. And then Nova comes out of like nowhere. Like where's he been this whole time? Who cares? And then he like taps him to the ground, and then Scarlet Witch and Hope show up, and then they start like battling him out. And like while he's battling him out, like he's thinking about like how like things went wrong and like what happened, and then he like remembers Jean, and he's like, oh no. And then like Jean comes to him, and she's like, Scott, you gotta let it go, dude. You gotta let it go, man. You're like, don't do this. And then like he's like says like, tell Logan I love the name for the school, and like you're an idiot. And it's so awesome. And then he's like, oh, and he lets it go. And then Hope has it. It goes to Hope, and then she just bam, she like runs off, and they're like, oh my god, we gotta find her. And then she's like going around fixing all the shit that Scott just fucked up, okay? And then she comes back to them, and she's like, I'm the Phoenix now. I know what I'm doing, so fuck off. I'm the Phoenix. And they're like, no. Scarlet Witch is like, no, girl, no. You are not the Phoenix. You are supposed to let it go, okay? Like, you're not supposed to keep it because it totally will corrupt you. It does not matter. And she's like, okay, I guess. So they hold hands and they go, no more Phoenix. And she like channels Wanda's powers, and the Phoenix dissipates into the universe. But before it does so, there's a birth of new mutants all over the world. The Phoenix gets what it wanted. The mutants are back. Everyone's fucking excited about it. Cyclops has to go to jail, and he has this weird helmet on so he can't blast people. And it's totally Avengers versus X-Men.
So, Comic Book Girl 19, Avengers vs. X-Men is finally over. How do you feel about it?
AVX. It happened.
Really? Is that the best you can say about it?
I don't know. I feel very ambivalent towards it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. There was some really cool and interesting moments. There was a lot of relationships that have been changed because of this, which I like. But overall, I just felt like they undid everything they did with M-Day, so it feels very regressive versus feeling progressive. Avengers vs. X-Men is more of a starting point for Marvel now, as opposed to like being a story within itself with a nice wrap-up and a nice conclusion. In the end, Avengers vs. X-Men was about continuity and not character. This whole event is really about setting up a new continuity for Marvel versus a story about a character, which I find more interesting. There's no great message at the end, like there's no great thing to take away from it, a story that provides you with some life lesson. This isn't about that. This is merely about setting up the continuity for how it's going to be from now on until they change it again.
Alright, so time for some questions. Was it really a big deal to kill Professor X?
So Professor X has been on the sideline for a while. Like, everybody's kind of pissed at him and, like, don't really like him because they found out all these secrets and these, like, fucked up things he's been doing. And they're like, oh my god, dude, like, you have been manipulating us. So he really hasn't been a part of much lately. I think to kill him off is really easy because he hasn't been around. And it's like, this isn't his first time dying. Like, he's died before and he'll obviously be back. And it's, you know, and I hate it when they try to make this big hullabaloo about it. And it's like, come on, man. Like, I mean, whatever.
Shouldn't more people have died? Shouldn't someone significant, like, say, I don't know, Gambit or Colossus or Storm, somebody important died? I mean, with all these superheroes fighting, there's got to be some consequences.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would have been better. I mean, take a look at Game of Thrones, like, you know, characters fucking die in that shit, and so, like, you really care about them, and it's like, oh shit, you don't want them to die, you know? Well, when you know that nobody's gonna die for good, there's, like, no suspense in the story. There's no tension anymore. On the other side of the coin, you have to think about it from Marvel's perspective, where, you know, it is a character-driven industry. They make money off these characters. They don't really make money off of, like, the titles as much as, like, the characters. Like, I want to know what's going on with Scott Summers. That's why I read the X-Men. Not because I just want to read the X-Men, because I love Scott. You know, I want to know. So like, if they kill him off, then that's, you know, killing their business, and I get that you can't do that. Well, it would be a better story, of course, though, if people died and they stayed dead. That, I mean, it would be a lot more impactful, obviously, and ballsy, and in this day and age, people are really apathetic to death because they know that it isn't forever and that he has died before and that he hasn't even been around a lot anyways to begin with. So it's like, what's the point? I mean, like, I remember they made this huge deal about the Human Torch. Oh, he's dead. They're gonna kill the Human Torch, and he was back, like, in no time. Like, he's already back.
What was the controlling idea here? What was the message in the end that we can take away? What do we learn from all of this?
Well, the problem with Avengers vs. X-Men is that it doesn't really have one point of view. It's very scattered. It's very all over the place with a lot of different characters, like all the different characters. And I feel like it would have been a lot stronger if they had a main character, if they had picked a couple of main characters and, like, really worked on something with them as opposed to just jumping around everywhere. I mean, it kind of made it weaker overall. You'll notice in a lot of TV shows, like Lost or like Angel or Buffy or whatever, the episodes that are the best episodes are usually about, like, one of the main characters, and it really focuses on them, and, you know, you really get to see what's going on with them as opposed to the episodes where everybody's doing stuff, you know?
Can you describe the Phoenix Force?
The Phoenix Force in a nutshell, okay? Wanda wished all the mutants away. The Phoenix took notice and was like, no, not no more mutants, more mutants. So it came back to Earth to make sure that that happened. And it did. It came back. There are now more mutants.
Okay, let's talk about what characters learned from the big fight. What did Captain America learn?
Captain America really realized that he really didn't do much for the mutant cause. Like, he really didn't help them in their time of need. He didn't really give that much of a shit about it, and he feels bad about that. He genuinely feels bad about that, I think, and now that there are more mutants out, and now that there will be, I'm sure, lots of problems that go along with that, he is going to be there to help with this whole transition, I believe.
What did Wolverine learn?
Wolverine was really in and out of this story. He wasn't there a whole lot. He didn't have any huge revelations, I don't think. I did enjoy that when Professor X was dying, he telepathically talks to Wolverine and he says, whatever you do, whatever happens, don't close that school. Like, promise me you will not shut down that school. And he says, okay. And like, that solidified him as the headmaster of the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. And he's been really struggling with that for a while. Like, he hasn't even been there a whole lot because he doesn't know what he's doing there. Like, I feel like he stays away for a reason. Now that he's promised Professor X, I think that he's gonna be back, and I think it'll be really interesting to see him in his new role as headmaster.
What did Iron Man learn?
Tony Stark learned to have faith, which I think is interesting. I mean, he's always been very much like the silly playboy, you know, smart billionaire guy, and he really was like, couldn't figure out how to stop this. Like, he could not do it, and he's very surprised about that, and he was just like, you know what? He realized that science couldn't do everything, you know? He realized that there were limitations to science, and that surprised him, and that he had to find a little something called faith that Wanda and Hope could do something about this. And I thought that was poignant for him. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, he's always been a man of science, and he's finally understood that there's, you know, a balance between like science and spirituality. I mean, that's something that I believe in, you know, like I totally get behind that idea. Why can't you have science and spirituality? Like, why can't you have both?
What did Cyclops learn?
What did Cyclops learn? Oh, that's a tough one because he like says that he would do it all over again. He's like, fuck you, I'd do it all over again because all I wanted was more mutants. Like, that's all he wanted. Like, he felt responsible for the mutant race and like the propagation of the mutant race, and he felt that he was failing and that they were becoming extinct, and like for some reason that really like wore on him. And now that he's gotten his wish, he's like, okay, I got what I wanted. Like, I don't care. Like, take me to jail. That's fine. That's fine. I got what I wanted. Like, I don't even care. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. And I will say about Cyclops, I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping that he'd go bad for like longer than one issue. I was hoping that he would like have a whole, you know, villain cycle. I've mentioned it before that he's been marching towards this villainhood for a while, and I really wanted him to like solidify with it and like go with it for a while, but we'll see what happens going forward. Now he's in jail. We'll see how Cyclops in jail works out.
What did Namor learn?
Namor didn't learn shit as usual. He's Namor. And that's why Namor is kind of awesome, because he's just always like, I'm Namor. Like, I don't care. I'm always a dick. I am always a dick. Whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy, I'm Namor. But you know what I like about Namor? I like that Namor is the Marvel version of Aquaman, and in Marvel Universe, nobody fucks with like Aquaman. You know, like in DC, like everyone, like they have the same fucking powers, and like in DC, he's like this joke. And in the Marvel Universe, everyone's like, that guy will sleep with your wife. Like, be careful. Like, he will. Like, he does not give a fuck. But I like that about him. I don't know. He wears a Speedo and has little wings on his feet, and he'll kick your ass. Like, he does not care.
Okay, Comic Book Girl 19, what was your favorite part of Avengers vs. X-Men overall?
The one thing that I did really like about AVX was that there are a lot of changes in relationships among characters. That's why I read the X-Men. That's why I love the X-Men. I'm a girl. I can't help it. It's a superhero soap opera. What do you want? I really enjoyed Uncanny X-Men number 18. What a hot cover. That is like the best cover I've seen in a while. I really like it. But inside of it, it goes into the Phoenix Four, who you have Magic and Colossus having a moment, and then you have Scott and Emma having a moment. The Magic and Colossus thing, I feel like, is a really big deal, and I'll tell you why. Magic has been through the ringer, okay? She's had a lot of fucked up shit happen to her. She's had her like soul taken away. She's been like the Sorcerer Supreme of Limbo, which is kind of like a hell dimension. She turns into a demon sometimes. Like she died of a legacy virus at some point. She has a lot of issues, and she's kind of dark. Whereas Colossus is like a really good guy. He's like the super good guy, and he's her big brother, and he loves her like so much. As we know, Colossus is now the Juggerlossus, or the Colossonaut, and he sold his soul to Cyttorak. His soul is damned, okay? That's what this means. He has a damned soul. And he starts talking to her about it after they both fall, and they're just normal again. They don't have the Phoenix power, and he's like, oh my god, like, I'm damned. I'm a monster. Like, I thought that being the Phoenix would, like, totally make me not as evil, but the Phoenix just made it worse. Like, it made me want to just kill everyone. I wanted to paint the moon with blood. Oh my god. And she's like, finally, you get it. And he's like, wait, what are you talking about? And she's like, dude, now you know how it feels. Like, I knew. And she reveals that this is a big plan of hers. She knew that if she offered her soul to Cyttorak, the demon or whatever, for the powers of the Juggernaut, that he would intervene, and that he would in turn lose his soul or whatever, and become damned, so that he would know how she felt. And that's what she says to him. She's like, I did that on purpose
You totally know how I feel now. You kept saying that you wanted to understand, that you love me and you wanted to understand. Well, now you understand. Now you understand what it feels like to be damned and to have it curl in your guts and to just feel shitty all the time and just know that you're a terrible person. Now you fucking know. And he looks at her and he's like, you are fucking crazy. And she's like, yes, I am. Like, you get it. You fucking, yes, I am crazy. And I've been telling you for years that I'm a crazy bitch and to stay away from me, but you just couldn't do it. And because you couldn't do that, now you're fucked up because I'm a fucked up person and that's what I do. I fuck shit up, you know? And he's like, gets super angry, becomes the Juggerlossus, and then they fight and she's like, yeah, this is my final fucking gift to you. Regret, you know, like, see ya. And he's just like, oh my fucking God. And that was a really big moment for me because they've been doing this for years, the whole like, I'm damned. And he's like, no, I love you anyways. And I'm glad that that came to a head. That was really good. Now the other half of this issue has a wonderful story with Emma and Scott that I thought was really exciting. It shows them eating dinner and they're eating steak and he's like, oh, this is so great. And she's like, yes, it's, you know, I got the memory of this steak from a vagrant man who stole this 5-star Michelin chef steak and, you know, all this shit. You realize that they're having a psychic dinner while they're also fighting. So the big, like, culminating battle is going on, but they're, like, still having a little dinner, and they're like, I wish people knew how big we were, and they're like, oh, I don't know. So they start talking, and then Emma finally, like, reveals to him that she had an affair with Namor, like, while, like, they made psychic love while he was, like, raining fire down in Wakanda, which is, like, so hot. Like, that's a super hot fucking idea. But anyways, they did that, and she's like, I'm sorry, like, and she's like, this Phoenix shit is, like, too much for me. Like, she starts finally admitting it, being like, I love you, I fucking slept with Namor, oh my God, this is too much, like, we're turning into monsters, whatever. And he's like, let's have a toast, babe. And like, he takes her Phoenix Force power and for himself, and then we know how that ends up. But I love the fact that they showed the Phoenix, like how you would work on multiple levels mentally, how you could have like a psychic stake while you're fighting somebody and doing something else and doing something else. I feel like that's really interesting. And I don't know, like, what's gonna happen with Scott and Emma. Like, are they still gonna be together? Is he gonna like forgive her for that? Like, does that even bother him? Because he didn't even act like it bothered him. Like, he was above it. Like, he's just like, I don't even care. Like, I know that you're a kind of a hoe and you're gonna do hoe shit sometimes. Like, you know, I don't know. So I'm really interested to see where that goes. Pretty much, yeah. Everything that I liked about this series came from this, really.
So now that Avengers vs. X-Men is over, what are you looking forward to reading in Marvel now?
I'm really excited that Avengers vs. X-Men is over because now we can get back to, you know, what's been going on anyways in the titles that I was having fun with before AVX came along. Wolverine and the X-Men is my, like, favorite X title. Like, I make no bones about it. I love Uncanny X-Force, and that's great and everything, and I like it. I just love Wolverine and the X-Men because it makes me happy. Like, every time I read it, it makes me happy, and I'm just, like, so excited. I love the issue with talking about Dupe. Oh my God, that was hilarious. And I was just so excited that AVX is over. We can get back to where we were. I can learn more about my favorite new Teen Mutants, you know? I mean, I was just so excited. So I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're having a dance, and I'm so excited. And they showed them, like, feeding the Krakoa, like, fertilizer, and that was a lot of fun. And it's like, oh man, like, yes, you know, we're getting back to it. And then Broo died, and he got shot in the head at the end of it. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I was at work when I read it. I had to excuse myself to the bathroom to have a fucking cry about it because it just bummed me out so fucking bad. It was just like, Broo makes me nothing but happy. Every time I read about him, he's just like, I'm so excited to do homework and I just want to be your friend. Like, hey, what's going on? I'm a little Broo. And like, oh, and he's so cute and awesome and just positive. He's such a little fountain of positivity. And then just senselessly shoot him in the head? Oh my God, you gotta be shitting me. Like, and then it shows, like, the thing that killed me was, it wasn't even like the terrible shot of him dead on the ground, like blood everywhere, which was awful and graphic. But the part where it has, like, shows on Cerebro, or Cerebra, or whatever the hell it's called now. It's the little blip that's Broo, and then, poof, it just, like, went away. And if a light goes out on that shit, that means someone's dead. That means they are dead. It doesn't mean they could be dead or they're in another dimension. It means they're fucking dead, okay? It means they're dead. And if it turns out that he's not dead, and that was just like this big funny like gag or something. Like, that's not funny. That's not funny, and you can't do that to people, and that totally sucks. And it was senseless. It was senseless. There's no reason to kill him off. Like, for God's sake. Like, and he's probably not dead, and it probably just was this fucking terrible joke, and it's just not right. Don't mess with my emotions like that. Yeah, no, but nobody wants Broo to die. Does anyone want Broo to die? He's nothing but nice to everyone. Nothing but nice. Yeah. Everybody in Avengers vs. X-Men's totally fine. Oh, we're all fine here, you know. And then Broo. Ugh. You're kidding me. I feel a little better. Still upset about it. I don't know. We'll see. I think I'm going to be upset about it no matter what. If he comes back, I'm going to be pissed that they fucked with me like that. And then if he doesn't come back, I'm going to be pissed because he's dead. And that was just like totally unneeded. Well, I mean, now they got rid of Kid Gladiator. He's back in the Shi'ar Empire. And then now they've killed off Bruce. So what are we left with? Idy. And Evan, he's been like kidnapped too. So we're left with Kid Omega and Idy. And I guess now they're like dating or something. I don't know. Like, that's it? Like, all the other three are gone now? Like, are you... Well, it was a setup for like the best stories ever. It was the perfect setup for the most fun stories that I was just so anticipating. That's the one title I don't want things to change on. Every other title stays the same, and then Wolverine and the X-Men's the ones throwing me curveballs. It's like, ugh, yeah. I really like that one with Dupe though. That was really funny. I like that Warbird and Dupe are doing it. I think that's really awesome.
So, I still don't know who won in the end. Was it the Avengers or the X-Men?